Hello and good afternoon. I'm Paul Muzzucco, the Chief Security Officer at TierPoint, and welcome to Cloud Security Fest 2025. I oversee our corporate standards for physical information and network security and lead our efforts around industry compliance, including PCI, ISO, NIST, HIPAA, and most federal standards. My background is both a security entrepreneur as well as a defense contractor, and I've spent much of my career building and testing behavioral-based security policies, disaster recovery plans, and forensic services across multiple industries. I've also had the opportunity to train with several U.S. government agencies and support clients like the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense. I'm really looking forward to today's discussion and sharing insights from both the front lines and the strategy behind modern cybersecurity. For those of you new to TierPoint, we're proud to be one of the leading IT hybrid providers in the country. With over 40 data centers, 800 plus IT professionals, and thousands of customers, our approach is built on three basic pillars: security first, which I lead, customer satisfaction, which we all lead, and cloud neutrality. Today we're going to explore how TierPoint uses AI to fight the bad guys, from threat detection to real-time response, and we'll introduce an exciting opportunity to bring that same innovation to our customers. I'm going to show you a preview of some of the new things that we have going on here, and I hope you're as excited as we are. So what began in the early 2020s as experimental AI-driven phishing campaigns has now matured into fully automated attack chains. Systems that independently scan for vulnerabilities, generate tailored malware, and execute breaches with little to no human oversight. There is a long list of AI-assisted attack paths currently being utilized across the threat landscape. And if you take a look at this snapshot, you will see that within TierPoint's ecosystem, in just the last year, we have seen an amazing amount of growth in AI-based attacks, from attack surface discovery, automated bots looking to map clients' attack surfaces, looking for lateral movement. Some of these AI bots are specifically looking to move between ecosystems, data exfiltration. It's very clear to see that as these bots knock on the door, some of the scripting behind them is specifically looking for data exfiltration and to plant malware, and of course bot attacks. We see a huge increase from 26 million to 68 million bot attacks across our client landscape and our internal landscape. All of these attacks that you're looking at are driven by artificial intelligence and machine learning that the threat actors are using to make themselves faster and more efficient. So let's take a look at some of the AI attacks that we're tracking closely. So AI-powered phishing attacks. So what we're seeing are hyper-personalized emails. AI scrapes social media, breach data, and leak credentials to craft tailored phishing emails that easily bypass spam filters and fool even the most vigilant users. We do email training and phishing training across our ecosystem multiple times a year. And as great as we think our training is, and as diligent as we feel our employees have become, we are still victim to these highly sophisticated AI attacks that hit our ecosystem. What used to take hours and months are now being done in minutes. Threat actors can use AI to run millions of simulated email attacks and use that simulated email attack to give themselves the best chance of getting into an ecosystem. They can tailor these machine learned email attacks to look at specific verticals, healthcare. They can run simulations that will get past healthcare screening, legal, manufacturing, et cetera, et cetera. They're getting better and better and much more efficient at crafting email messages that not only make it past your secure email gateway, but have the best chance of getting clicked on. Voice cloning, deepfake audio mimics executives or trusted contacts, tricking employees into approving fraudulent wire transfers, sharing sensitive information. Deep voice simulations are something that we have seen firsthand across our ecosystem, and it's only going to get better. And real-time social engineering. AI chatbots dynamically adapt their tone, language, and tactics mid-conversation, pressuring victims into giving up credentials or payment details before even realizing that it's a scam. Automated malware and ransomware. So we've seen what we call polymorphic malware. The AI constantly rewrites malicious code on the fly to try and evade detection, rendering traditional antivirus nearly useless. And targeted ransomware. Before even locking the files, AI maps high-value targets like financial records, trade secrets, and infrastructure data to really try and drive maximum ransomware payouts. We never recommend that our clients pay that ransomware. We always work with qualified forensic groups as well as our own internal forensics to try and stabilize the patient and get our clients back up and running as quickly as possible. But if you do have to pay the ransomware, know that it's because these AI-driven attacks have become so sophisticated. And plain old brute force attacks. So machine learning turbocharges password cracking. We used to have massive rainbow tables that we would have to download and utilize in order to try and go in and brute force password attacks. Now with machine learning, they've reduced breach time by up to 90% and, God forbid, turning weak credentials into instant liability on behalf of clients. So threat actors. Stopping AI-powered attacks isn't impossible, but it requires speed, precision, and a relentless adaptation. So what we think is the best defense. Next-gen predictive models detect anomalies in real time, shrinking response windows from hours to seconds. Behavioral AI reinforces this by flagging suspicious activity early, favoring caution over regret. We err on the side of caution. With how fast these threat actors are using machine learning and AI in order to get into these ecosystems, we use AI to err on the side of caution, and I mean that. We would rather isolate a system and give ourselves the chance to analyze what's going on than to look the other way and allow those systems to potentially become compromised. Automated patching. AI can now deploy fixes autonomously even before a vulnerability is publicly known. Automated patching routines deliver really fast remediation and system isolation, sometimes and most times before the vendors even release their zero-day patches. And hack yourself. AI-driven penetration testing unleashes cutting-edge simulated attacks to reveal vulnerabilities traditional tests might miss. Manual pen testing still reigns supreme. It is still our go-to mandate when we need a genuine deep dive penetration tests. But algorithmic scans are really excellent for rapidly identifying low-hanging fruit and to give yourself a lay of the land, a mapping of systems that might take weeks or even months for a manual pen test to do. The algorithmic scans really get in there and go through things quickly in order to give us an isolated subset of systems that we really need to concentrate on for our manual testing. And train your employees. So AI-generated fakes we covered before are getting harder to spot. Emails, fake websites, even training portals are constantly fabricated. Add to that web scraping, and threat actors can make their websites look exactly like the website you think you're supposed to go to. So educating that large workforce is no longer optional. It's really now the first line of defense. We've all heard that employees are the weakest link. Lack of employee training and lack of controls to allow your employees to operate in the safest environment possible, that is really your weakest link now. So what we've done is we've created what we call the ADAPT platform. It is a unified security platform for end-to-end threat management. So we don't just want to react to infrastructure attacks that we see. We want to be proactive. And the core capabilities that we've built into this platform are automated, they're autonomous, but at the same time, we have a 24/7 security operations team that these attacks get escalated to so that we have a human reviewing these and making the final determination. The AI systems and the machine learning we utilize do not answer to anyone. Therefore, we never want them to be the final decision maker unless that decision is eliminating white noise, eliminating low-hanging fruit, we always have a 24/7 operated SOC that are TierPoint US-based employees to make sure that we're making the best decisions possible. And it is a true managed detection and response system. So from threat detection, we're looking at identity and access security, network and endpoint security across the entire ecosystem, incident response and analysis, as well as geotagging. We have our forensic lab and full integrations into Azure, AWS, O365. It is an event orchestration as well as a cloud security platform so that we have a single pane of glass, central repository for all this information to be brought in, normalized, and looked at from a large telemetry platform so that we can compare and contrast real time from our edge security right down to our endpoints. And let me show you a couple actual screens of the infrastructure that we've built. So I said from the edge. So we start with DDoS data feeds. This is a real screen from TierPoint's ADAPT platform looking at DDoS attacks as well as layer 7 attacks across our large ecosystem. DDoS attacks are historically a smokescreen. They launch these large attacks in the hopes that it's all hands on deck and everybody's looking at this large volumetric attack while at the same time potentially ignoring the low and slow attacks or the other infrastructure attacks that are happening. We use our edge protection as a holistic telemetry tie-in to the rest of our ADAPT platform in order to look at events and correlation data between our edge and the infrastructure that we protect behind it. Of course, antivirus, anti-malware, all of the things we would consider industry standards, low-hanging fruit, the mandates that we have to have in place in order to make sure that, again, the best defense that we could possibly put through is to be proactive and to make sure that we correlate events from that edge to the endpoints. And an antivirus, anti-malware engine is something that we consider a mandate. And web filtering. So we have thousands and thousands of clients as well as almost 1,000 employees, really being able to help automatically protect against malicious websites, malicious URLs. As I said earlier, it is not hard for threat actors to create a website with some minor changes and some scripting behind it that can fake you into entering your credentials and can fake you into allowing yourself to be on a website and potentially interact with a website that is not in any way the website that you thought you were going to. Endpoint host intrusion. So from laptops to servers, even our switches, our firewalls, whatever we consider an endpoint, whether we're looking at real-time telemetry or whether we're looking at log files, security log files, and then doing event correlation off of that, we want to make sure that every single endpoint in our ecosystem and our client's ecosystem is equally protected. DNS monitoring. So as an MSP, TierPoint manages and announces our own DNS infrastructure. So it's cumbersome and it's a lot of work to manage those DNS servers, but it pays off from a security standpoint in as much as we control that DNS and we can then protect and block categories and infrastructure that our DNS is feeding to very easily. It really makes a lot of sense as an MSP to manage that DNS and be able to clear out any malicious traffic, or to the best of our ability, malicious traffic that we see across that ecosystem. Email O365. So our ADAPT platform and these protections extend into the web. A secure email gateway and the ability to look at O365 monitoring and protections is truly a mandate in today's workforce. A secure email gateway using tools such as the Microsoft native tools, such as Mimecast and Proofpoint, the more things you have in place to really look at that email message, validate that it's coming from a legitimate user, and to double check that the DNS records that they're presenting, looking at the URL and validating that it's legit, and making sure that it's a legitimate email address that's trying to enter your ecosystem, once again, feeds into that holistic telemetry infrastructure and gives us a much better fighting chance at protecting our end users. O365 and Azure. So whether it be Azure AD, looking and tying into Defender Enterprise, looking at all of the things that Microsoft Sentinel has available that we can write scripting to ingest, looking at the cloud holistically is something that we've been requested from clients quite a bit. Our largest growth is in the hybrid infrastructure. So a lot of clients host their infrastructure at TierPoint, but want to take advantage of what the cloud has to offer. So for scaling into the cloud, for disaster recovery into the cloud, we have to make sure that our cloud protections carry over natively from the protections that we offer within TierPoint's ecosystem. And internal AD. So not every client and not even TierPoint is 100% in the cloud. So having your internal AD risky user monitoring, once again, tied to a holistic cloud environment, allowing that hybrid infrastructure to move and flow between on-prem and the cloud and carrying those protections between the two was a mandate that we put out as we went to launch this ecosystem. And of course, we use machine learning and detection in order to help our teams make the best decisions as quickly as possible. So we run about 60 different machine learning jobs, as well as we've trained 6 or 7 AI models now in order to make sure that we can get an instant autonomous risk report. And that risk report is really looking at anomalies, behavioral anomalies. And the only way to truly be proactive, since not everything contains a signature, is to allow this training to look for differences in behavioral anomalies. Have you gone to this website before? Are you trying to log in from an ecosystem that you've never been to? Are you logging in from a different country? Can we use our geo-balancing and geo-detection to try and detect if there's a risky user trying to come in from the outside? And it gives a very quick red, yellow, green look at what happened in that ecosystem, and is the machine learning allowing us to put this risk register in front of a well-trained security operations staff. And then this not only goes to a security operations staff, but we work with our internal engineers, we work with our ProServe engineers, we look at the infrastructure holistically. And we use AI and large language model integration. We want to give our security operations team the fastest access to real-time data as we can. But at the same time, we want to take advantage of what the large language model integration allows us to do. So we have an internally hosted large language model. We don't want TierPoint threat information going out to the web-based large language models to assist with their training. We keep everything hosted internally. It buys us another layer of security, and it still gives us the ability for a SOC engineer to use human readable information and say, this is what I'm seeing, this is what it's doing, and for the large language model to give a boost, a faster response in order to figure out what are we looking at and why. We have incident response and automation. So we expose this natively. So we use the machine learning and the orchestration engine to show down to the endpoint what was spawned, what system credentials were used, and what services happened. Was a service terminated? Was a service automated and running now? We look at these holistically to say this system is now outside of its normal operating limits, and here's the reasons why, and here's what we saw. And we looked at this with automation as well. So once we see an anomaly, we can drill down and it will show us where was it coming in, what packages were deployed, what packages were trying to be deployed, and what does the compromised host look like now versus what did it look like 2 minutes ago. Part of this incident response really allows the machine learning to isolate these systems and also build us a map of what other systems are susceptible to the attack methodology we're seeing across this ecosystem currently. Add to that an advanced threat hunting and intel program, and we get a hands-on, human-driven threat hunting program based on the telemetry and the attack volume that the automated systems see coming into this ecosystem. One data feed alone contains over 50,000 unique IP addresses. We collect IPs, hashes, domains, and malicious URLs in order to build that threat hunting program unique to each client. And we have honeypots that we own and operate around the world. Instead of sending malicious command and control traffic back to the IP addresses it's intended for, we do our best to intercept that malicious traffic, bring it into our honeypot, and give ourselves the opportunity to really research and keep the lights on while we figure out what that malicious anomaly is. And that is my time today. Thank you for joining me today, and with that, I'll bring it to a close. Thank you all for your time and for listening in. Please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is available here, and more details on our cybersecurity strategies are coming soon. We'll have a fact sheet posted in the webinar portal, and we look forward to our next interaction. I appreciate your time. Thank you.